Here we go. All right, part two for the Arends Translation Attrition, the ATA. Articles from German newspapers translated for William Arends for our InterStream 130 to 131. Translator's note. This time, I've returned to translating articles out of the Berlin's latest news in order to see what this more conservative-leaning publication has to say about current events. Once again, there will not be much difference as it pertains to the war reports, due to the censorship that affects such dispatches from the battlefields. But in reporting political events and in stating opinions, there does seem to be some tolerance for the publication of different points of view. In these series of articles, that less stringent control of the press applies to a short article about the Kaiser, sending a signed decree to his subordinates in charge of affairs in Poland. Another article about Italian attempts to move into the Balkans may also be exhibiting a modicum of press freedom. Neither article makes any reference to troop movements or naval actions. Those types of reports continue to print out only positive results for Germany and the Central Powers, while marking the defeats and despair of their enemies. Berlin's latest news, Sunday, September 16th, 1917, morning edition. Lively combat activity in Flanders. The German success in the Somme Forest. Berlin, September 15th. The English undertook a partial attack in the Flanders front on the 14th of September near Saint-Julien that brought them no gains, but instead cost them bloody losses and 33 soldiers taken as our prisoners. West of Woermann, Belgium, 5 enemy patrol boats sought to approach our positions at 2 o'clock in the morning, which were driven away. A German patrol southwest of Dixmude came upon a post manned by Belgian sergeants and brought back a portion of those occupying that position as prisoners. In Artois and the region around Saint-Quentin, the English have, as they have done in Flanders for days before this, retreated from every meaningful combat engagement. Their artillery fire also grew weaker. Only their advanced patrols went forth with any intense activity. German attacks have led to the capture of 1 Portuguese soldier north of Neuve-Chapelle. North of Bourcy, English troops were captured while they were manning their posts in their trenches. English patrols were forced back by German defensive fire south of Hulluch, east of Guisecourt, and southwest of Bertheville. As regards to the French, the goals of our combat advances and of assault troop undertakings were partially achieved. The successful German assault on Wittenberg against the French position there occurred after a short preparatory fire, which had completely surprised the enemy. Our side suffered limited losses while overrunning the French trenches. Important information was gathered by this reconnaissance, and 2 officers and 48 soldiers were brought back as prisoners. In the Champagne, the streets of Saint-Pie-Sanet were once again fruitlessly stormed by the French. Between 6 and 7 in the morning, they sought to take the German positions there without employing any preparatory artillery fire. Tisk, tisk. This attempt completely failed. The French attack was altogether broken up by the German defensive fire. They were only able to break through our lines at 2 locations, but even here, they were immediately thrown back, leaving many prisoners behind them. On the eastern banks of the Meuse, the German troops achieved a nice success in an offensive attack. East of the Somme Forest, the French trenches were stormed at a width of more than 1 kilometer and then held against multiple counterattacks. It has been confirmed that in this engagement, over 300 enemy soldiers were taken prisoner, and that the losses of the enemy in killed and wounded were very heavy. On the Eastern Front, the combat activity was lessened by the rain and fog. Only between the fortifications on the Dvina and Smorgon, and between the Carpathian mountain range and Sarth, did the firing revive. In Macedonia and Dobroje, the enemy advances were repulsed. Translator's note. What follows is a notification of how the Kaiser and his agents in the area inhabited by Poles are to be administered now that they are living in areas controlled by the German and Austro-Hungarian Reichs. Unfortunately for the Poles, they seem to have gone from being under the control of the autocracy of the Russian Tsar to being under the similar autocratic control of the Germanic Kaisers. More deference was being given by Kaiser Wilhelm to the concerns of his Austrian allies than to the needs and hopes of the people who identified themselves as Poles. Of course, this includes areas already under German control, such as East and West Prussia, Silesia, and Pomerania, as well as Galicia, which is part of the Austro-Hungarian Reich. The only question being answered by the enactment of the Kaiser's Commission was how complete that outside control would be. Polish nationalists, such as Piłsudski, probably did not see any improvement by moving from one side to the other side of those two imperialist forces whose conflict raged on what should have been the land of Poland. An announcement made by an official in Warsaw by the signature of the Kaiser. Warsaw, September 15th. His Majesty, the Kaiser, sent a signed proclamation of the Charter to empower the Transitional Commission related to the state power in the Kingdom of Poland, which was conveyed at 12 noon today at the lecture hall of the Royal Palace in Warsaw by His Excellency, the Governor General to the Provisional Council of State, done in the presence of the executive staff and the Chief Administrative Officer, His Excellency von Preiss. Also present at this ceremony was Baron von Ugron, representing the Imperial and Royal Kaiserlich and Königlich Foreign Ministry of Austria-Hungary, with Lieutenant Colonel Freyer, representing the Imperial and Royal K&K Commander-in-Chief of the Army, as well as the Austro-Hungarian government, commissioners of the Council of State, led by Baron Konopke. The wording of the decree empowering the Traditional Commission and the additional remarks made by the two governors general of Germany and Austria-Hungary were conveyed into the Polish language by Baron Konopke. Translators note, this short article is probably meant to show how the Italian government intended to take over areas of the Balkan Peninsula that were part of Austria-Hungary. This article was written to explain once again how the Entente powers wanted to gain influence in the southern Balkan lands of Albania and Serbia, with an eye to incorporating those lands into a wider Italian sphere of influence, while at the same time attempting to encroach on lands that were a part of the Austro-Hungarian Reich in the area of the Tyrol, as well as present-day Slovenia and the Dalmatian coast that today is part of Croatia. Italy makes a wider role for itself in the Balkans. Amsterdam, September 15th. The Morning Post reprinted an article from the Global Commercial News out of London, conveying a report that an Italian Trans-Balkan Committee has been established that has been given the task to take the construction materials needed to erect an Italian-controlled railroad by ferry boat service. God, that sounds like an Italian, I don't know, mafia cartel or something. This ferry would take those materials from roads leading to the port of Otranto, Italy, across to a landing in Valona, Albania, with the intention of building a Balkan rail connection from there to Monastir, at that time in Serbia, which had renamed the town Bitola, a locality that is now in the Republic of North Macedonia. This Trans-Balkan Committee is solely being created in the interest of fulfilling the Italian aspiration to gain access to a certain region of the Balkan Peninsula. Translators note, this is an ambition that would be a prime goal of Mussolini's plans to recreate a Roman Empire later in the 20th century. Thank you, William Arends. And you know what we're going to try to do here, because I'm going to also talk about this a little bit. I'm going to get up to here where you mentioned Piłsudski or something, this dude. So I'm going to see if I can go and find him up. Because what thing that drives me nuts, there he is. Polish nationalists such as Piłsudski. I think we've already mentioned him before. I'm going to copy and paste him. I'm going to pause the thing here, see if I can go find him up on the internet. And one thing I do want to also discuss right now is the fact that, oh, why not? Let's hold on here. Let's pop you in here. One thing I do want to discuss about this is the fact that since the channel will never be monetized, I don't gain access to certain functions that YouTube would give me if I was like in the partnership program. For example, being able to put in little info cards with links outside of YouTube and so on and so forth. So that way I could put like, if we looked up Alexei Aladin, for example, in the previous ATA, I could have popped him up And, well, people would be able to just go and take a look and find out some more or whatever. I'm not unable to do that. So I'm going to try some interesting little tricks to see if I can get around it, because there's no way ever. I'm never, ever going to monetize this freaking channel. I can tell you that much. Hold on. I'm going to hit pause and see what I can do. And there we go. So this is what I'm going to kind of try to do later on, and try to be a little bit more, actually, some of the subsequent ATAs that William Arends has provided me, there's just a few pages. So I'll see if I can experiment a little bit more and like try to insert them in between. We'll see. But anyways, here's Józef Piłsudski, and I'll put the link in here as well. But I'm sure we took a look at this person in the live streams as one of the who or what am I in World War I. I'm pretty darn sure. But anyways, here was a Polish statesman who served as the chief of state and first marshal of Poland. In the aftermath of World War I, he became an increasingly dominant figure in Polish politics and exerted significant influence on shaping the country's foreign policy. Piłsudski is viewed as a father of the Second Polish Republic, which was re-established in 1918, 123 years after the final partition of Poland in 1795, and was considered the de facto leader of the Second Republic as the Minister of Military Affairs. So I will put that in the sources and links, and hopefully later on, like I said, I'll try to incorporate these types of things more with William Arends' material for the ATAs. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm off to do part 3. See you later.